The Vergas Show is brought to you by Spanky's Stone Hearth, casual fine dining on the shores of beautiful Rose Lake.
With 2 locations in Vergas and Perham, make the right call. Call Hanson's, the most trusted name in plumbing and heating.
Hi, welcome to the Vergas Show. I'm Sherry Hansen. We're in a series here with Willi Humbeck. We've heard about your times in Germany. We heard that you're now in the United States. Willi, you expressed to me getting over to the United States from Germany. It was a hard decision to make because you had a good life in Germany. And then once you got to the United States, it maybe wasn't quite what you expected.
That's what you said it right. So anyway, because of that, I became sick because my emotions.
Right, and that can do it.
So, through that I learned a lesson too.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's, well, anyway. So then after 2 years in construction, I had a fight with the union boss. See, by that time, actually, even through that dilemma, I worked my way up to a 49er heavy equipment.
Oh, okay.
But many people, including the boss, they didn't like that. So they gave me a hell of a time. And they were sticking together, the union, you know. So I almost had a fight with the union steward. He had a shovel in his hand and I was that. And my dad at that time was with my mom here too. We wanted to stay together. And he worked with me in construction. See, at the same place.
Okay. And where were you at this time? What part of the country?
In St. Paul.
In St. Paul, okay.
All happened in St. Paul,
okay.
The whole story, not in another state. So then he hollered, Willi, don't. So I threw the shovel away. I didn't go to the bottle, you can take my word for that. I threw the shovel away and went down, up out of the ditch, took my dad and we left. And now my problem was, what now with my dad?
Yeah.
He was worse off. He hardly spoke 4 words of English. So getting him the job, I make that now short. So it took a week. Every day we went out looking for a job, but we never wanted to be back in construction. Mm-hmm. So I got him a job at the Miller Hospital. I don't know if that still exists in the cities, as a janitor helper. I was so happy that at least he had a job. Now I was running around looking for a job. A week passed by again. Oh, and then Margot stepped in. She started at Pearson Candy, because, you know, the money was running out. So then I got finally I went from store to store, pennies and all over, because I wanted somehow to get into business. But my problem was I couldn't fill out the papers beside my name and address. Because my English, I didn't learn any. You know, I was in that misery, and I almost wasn't willing anymore to learn it. I was kind of angry too, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, I'm sorry, we cannot give you a job, you cannot. Well. And then I came to a store, Signal Hill store, down South St. Paul. And she says, you have to fill it out. I said, I can. Well, she said, sorry. And then I heard a voice out of the background, give that guy a job. About the big shot, and he was German descent. His parents or grandparents came from Germany. Guess what? I got a job as a receiving clerk, and I did not even know the meaning of receiving clerk.
But you found out.
But I knew anyway if I wanted to learn it. So they put me on the dark, and in no time, nothing to it. But then from 580, which I made at a 49er. I went down to $2. See, but I wanted a job. I had payments to make, and the Margot and mine was $1.90 altogether an hour. But times were better then, you know.
Right.
So anyway, where was I? Now I'm getting a little bit. Okay. So then I met a lady there, a sales lady at a Signal Hill store. Well, I said, I don't know. I said, I need insurance. I have a family. See, that's what I always had, you know, especially in Germany. Well, she says, really, my husband, her name was Margaret Swain. She says he works for Farmers Union Central Exchange. Well, I gave him a call. Yeah, she gave him a call. Then I talked to him. Well, he says, you have to come up. We cannot do anything over the phone. But he was only a clerk, an office clerk. So anyway, next day I took a day off and went down to Farmers Union main office, and I met wonderful people. First time ever. Those were the first wonderful people.
People that you met.
So, and the story, well, again, I said I still cannot do. Well, they said, you got a job in office supplies, 10 cents more, but all the benefits you can think of, you know, for
Nice.
doctor and whatever. So I went back to Signal Hill store, and I said, I ain't gonna quit. I said, I give you my notice, 14 days. I said, no, he says, no way. Well, I said, I have no other choice. I said, I need
You
insurance.
need the benefits.
He says, wait a little bit, and if your English improves, I got a fantastic job for you as a buyer, you know. He says, you can travel over the whole country, and he really made a difficulty. No, I quit and started for Farmers Union. And there I worked for 7 years and worked my way up again as I worked in office supplies every morning. That was in the basement, that department. I had to fill up a little four-wheeler with pencil, papers, ink, you name it, and computer, those big rolls at that time. And 4 floors, I had to go up in an elevator and supply all those people with office supplies. And that's when I learned my English, because nobody was pushing me. Those people took their time.
Nice, yes.
Yeah, 7 years I worked there. And then, what day was this? I wanted to be on my own. Now, by that time, I was 41. Oh, I got it. And I bought my first place on Lake 6.
Okay.
See? My
There's
dad
your Vergas
gave me,
connection.
Yeah, my dad gave me some money, which I needed. For $5,000, I bought 80 feet lakeshore on Lake 6 with a little wooden cabin, gas light, and oil stove. But that's all I wanted. I didn't feel like going camping anymore. I wanted to be on my lake on my own. So then we came up here every way, summer, winter, snow, ice. In that little cabin.
Yeah.
And then I said to Margot one day, it was in the summertime, I said, you know something, why don't we give it all up again? And I didn't like the cities anymore. This country had poisoned me, see? So, and she didn't like it anymore either. Again, make the story short again, we quit our job, Pearson and Farmers Union, and then we moved up here. But I put a little mobile home in there, 50 by 12, just something to live in, because that cabin was not made for us.
Sure,
you know.
not to live for full time.
Well, Willi moved up, and then still working down there. Now we didn't give our notice yet. We still went further back. But that's what I said before. So anyway, but then the time came, I met my neighbor, Searle Shasky. And he was a full brush salesman.
There's the salesman.
And Harper. And he was with his boat on my shore, and he waved, elderly gentleman. By the way, he became, so to speak, my adopted dad. He had the age of my dad and everything. And I said, come on over, we have a beer. So he came on shore, we introduced each other, we had a beer. So and all the time I came up here, I drove him up to Fargo to his eye doctor. He had an eye problem too. So I found out that he used to be, he didn't sell anymore, but he had 2 accounts left, the Frazee School and the elevator in Perm. And so we talked and really got close. I said, I wish I could live up here. Well, he says, Willi, how much do you think you have to make? I said, I can live off the land. I ate the bark of the trees before, which I did. I didn't tell you that, did I?
No.
After the war, that is how hungry we were.
Well, yes, you did tell us that, yes.
We go later into that. So I said, I love it so much up here. I said, if I have a rifle, I can live off the land.
Live off the land.
And, make the story short again, I came up, he says, Willi, why don't you start selling what I sold, brushes? So he introduced me to Harper Industrial Brushes. He must have sold that too.
Right.
And
And that's how it all started here.
We went down again, gave notice, and they all called me nuts. They said, but there's another story I have to tell you that had something to do with the quickness that we moved up here. the president, Tom Steichen of Farmer Central, we became friends. And I took all those translating things for him. So one day he said to me, Willi, next year I will be 62, I'm going to retire and enjoy my leg home. Shortly after that, they announced over a loudspeaker one morning, Tom Steichen died.
Oh, dear.
That's actually why we speeded it up. I said to Margot, shall we wait until we retire, then move up there? No. So we moved up here.
And that's how you came here.
Yeah. And then I started pedaling. Then later on, they gave me the wonderful title, Yankee Doodle Peddler. And I said, but you know, the guys actually, I don't know if he really meant it friendly, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I said, you know something, but you have to put one thing in front, in the back. Yankee Doodle Peddler number 1. Eh?
There you go.
He was looking at me. So, and I liked that title.
And that's great.
And I did that for 37 years. I had the best time of my life. And next time I tell you that I could have become like Dirk, a real estate salesman, but I forgot the name of the guy, but maybe Jack. She was still knows that guy. He had a little office in that doghouse where today's lecturer. I came in there to sell. He said, give it up, sell
brushes.
Yeah. And I said, no. I said, I like what I did do.
And you're glad that you came over.
I did, yeah. And I'm glad what I did, because no bosses, no reports or meetings. I was the president, Margaret was the secretary.
And life was good.
We had a fantastic life for 37 years.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Willi.
Okay.
We appreciate you sharing. You have a good day in Vergas.